welcome to First Glance with Jody Vance. We are reconnecting with a good friend of Equity Guru in Anthony Brown, who is amped AMPD Ventures Inc. Amped AMPD. Okay, so Anthony, I always have to spell this out for people listening, just in case. You know, it's like F as in Frank. Did you say P? It is A as in Albert, M as in Mary, P as in Peter, D as in David. AMPD on the Canadian Exchange, Chairman and CEO, as I mentioned, Anthony Brown with us. Good to speak with you again. It feels like just yesterday that we talked, but I understand you've got some updates for us.
Oh, well, it's been a busy time. Really a big concentration on a private placement that we announced, I guess it's a few weeks ago now, and closed, very oversubscribed. So we originally announced the private placement at $3.5 million. We raised it to 5 million. And oversubscribed that to just under 7 million, to about 6.9, I think is what we ended up closing it at.
Wow.
And you know, the stock price had gone up by that point too much to take any further. And also, you know, I think that we kind of hit the dilution point that we're comfortable with at this point. But really fantastic response. You know, we announced our acquisition of Departure Lounge and our move towards being a 360 Metaverse company. We launched, I just have to say, we launched our private placement 2 days before Facebook decided to change its name to Meta. Like, we didn't know that was going to happen.
It gives me goosebumps, dude. I got to say, like, this is a First Glance with Jody Vance moment. This is where we are like no longer sitting at the coffee shop having tea. We're at the bar cheersing. Because that is some crazy dovetail right there, is it not? Like, what is that like? We'll get into, for those who are like, wait, I don't know what AMPed is. What is AMPed Ventures? Like, I need more information. We'll get to all the explanations in a hot minute, but we'd be burying the lead so hard. How did that unfold internally? Give me that story.
Well, I mean, first of all, we've been talking about the Metaverse and about how Amped is the hosting company for the Metaverse. I usually would refer to the Oasis from Ready Player One, to try and, you know, get people to understand what I meant by the Metaverse. But you know, this has always been kind of the goal of Amped, is to be the hosting company for the Metaverse with this high performance compute infrastructure. And really, the acquisition of Departure Lounge is really just an extension of the tools and technologies required to create the Metaverse. So volumetric capture being one of them, and that's what we're doing with Departure Lounge. We're going to have something called MetaStage Canada up here in Vancouver, where we can do full 4D volumetric capture. We're using 106 cameras of live action, and it is super cool. At some point, you know, I'd love to share some videos with you or something as we deploy it. And
I will come there. I'm triple vax girl. I will come there with the camera. You can take me home.
Well, we can capture you in full volumetric 3D, Jody. You can, like, yes.
I want that.
Yeah, it's super cool.
I'm gonna ask residents to mark this part of the video, because I'm gonna bring this out once you're too big to do that for me. Okay, carry on. Okay, so okay. Full on capture.
So yeah, so we were going through the process. We were intending to launch the private placement actually quite a bit earlier than we did. But there was a lot of moving parts, right? So figuring out the terms for the acquisition, we wanted to have all that figured out and put to bed prior to launching it, so that we'd be able to talk about it as a signed deal with the investors. We had, and you know, there was a lot of complexities in getting everything ready to launch the private placement. So I was actually quite disappointed that it had taken so long to get the private placement announcement out, and then 2 days later, Metaverse now is on everybody's tongue.
Everybody.
You know, I guess I have to thank Zuckerberg, I suppose. You know, but you know,
okay.
But yeah, I mean, look, this is what we do. We build the computing required. So that's the thing. So the Metaverse, just for those listeners who, you know, haven't been hearing all the buzz lately, is really just a 3D internet. So no 2D screens to do your searches on Google, no 2D screens to do your Facebook work and all that sort of stuff. The idea is that you'll have a nice pair of augmented reality glasses that will attach to your phone or what have you, and you'll be able to interact with the internet in a full 3D fashion.
Right.
And that's really what the essence of the metaverse is. And the technology, the underlying technology to make all this happen comes from, number one, having this high performance compute at the edge, the stuff that AMP does. Number two, real-time graphics rendering, like photorealistic graphics rendering. And that comes from the big players. So that comes from Epic and Unity as two of the biggest players. So Unreal Engine and the Unity engine are really driving that. So this ability to be able to take 3D graphics and render them in real time and be able to interact with them, combined with the infrastructure that we have, is what basically is required to run the metaverse. Now, on top of that, you need all kinds of different tools. Metastage is one of them to do volumetric capture of realistic 3D things. You need all the power of NVIDIA and AMD and Intel. All those components are being designed to be able to handle this type of real-time graphics processing, and then lots and lots and lots of content. That's would be that, and decentralized finance is also a really key important feature of the metaverse. Without things like NFTs to track digital assets, without the ability to have a blockchain associated with an identity or associated with a currency, you wouldn't be able to have a democratized metaverse, right? So there's two ways this can go, Jody. So we can have an open metaverse, where you can travel from one place to another with keeping your identity, going from one world to another, and it's all wide open to you, or a closed metaverse in which you have the Facebook metaverse and the Paramount metaverse and and you have to basically think of it as like having to change your clothes and change your identity and change everything every time you go into a new place. Right. Now, the only way you get the open metaverse is through decentralized finance, through blockchain, through the ability to track these assets from world to world and be able to keep all of that working with you. It also requires all kinds of other things to be able to have that kind of interoperability, so that you could be in Roblox one day and Decentraland the next day and so on, and all still be the same person.
But honestly, I got to say, let me reiterate, Anthony Brown is the chairman and CEO of AMP Ventures, Inc. We're talking about this company, and we're talking about the meta, right? This is high performance computing, cloud solutions for animation, visual effects, esports and games, AI, mixed reality. You were just talking about that. There's so many applications to this. And when you talk about, I'm a big Marvel fan. So anytime you touch your glasses, I'm becoming Tony Stark. Like I want that in my life. I also have a 14-year-old son who plays every game you mentioned. And I've learned most of them with him and been over his shoulder watching and how immersive he can get in even a 2D world. This is going to be some unbelievable next level. Coming from the TV world, I understand what it takes to render graphics. The fact that your technology and how you can capture me in 4D and then put me into a place in a space with realistic graphics at my fingertips in that meta just blows my mind. So I just want to make sure that our listener understands the level of sort of next spec technology wise your company represents, is a part of.
It is, and don't get me wrong. I mean, this is going to take a few years before everybody's going to be, just touching their glasses and doing all that sort of stuff. But it's probably a lot closer than most people think. I'm not a futurist. I can't give any guarantees, but I would say within 5 years, you'll be. I dig that. The glasses will be something that'll be pretty common. But the applications for metaverse technologies are happening now, right? It does come from video games, and that's why esports and all that sort of stuff is important. It's those engines and those economies and so on that have really been the precursor to what we now see as the metaverse. But things like digital twinning, being able to, have a whole factory and be able to see it in perfectly rendered 3D with all the simulations of heat and fluid dynamics and all the various different things that they need to be able to simulate a factory. Think of the impact to the next factory that you build. The impact of artificial intelligence, not just, you know, the natural language processing and so on that we all experience now by using Siri and so on. But, you know, being able to have a virtual assistant that you could talk with normal language to and ask them a question to help you figure something out, and having, you know, having the sum of all human knowledge in the palm of our hand with a lovely, a lovely cell phone. But imagine how much easier that gets when you're just talking. You know, there's one project that that I'm aware of that uses machine learning to look at skin lesions and has a 90% better chance of detecting whether that lesion is cancer than a team of doctors using artificial intelligence and image recognition, right? So the applications for how all of this will come together for us is absolutely immense. It's going to basically replace the internet as we know it, generate trillions of dollars in revenue, and it's all about you know, how quickly we can get there and how much we can bring to the table from a technology perspective that will determine who the winners of the land grab are, I guess.
Well, it's incredibly exciting, and when you're speaking, it just, the terms you're using, I feel it's boundless. I mean, we might only be dipping our toe in the very beginning of something, thinking that's already more than we could have ever imagined. And I think that's really exciting. With AMPD Ventures Inc., we're with the chairman and CEO, Anthony Brown, and Vancouver headquarters and production facility. I think that matters a lot to many of those who watch First Glance with Jody Vance. We want to invest in Canada, and if we can, even in our own cities, depending on where you live in Canada. But that is an important piece.
Well, we are all across Canada, Jody. Just so you know, our head office is in Vancouver, but we have people all across. We even have people in the Maritimes. Our CTO is in New Brunswick, and you know, one of the
coast to coast.
Yeah, coast to coast. And one of the cool things about this metaverse technology is, you know, being able to work it collaboratively with all of these people at the same time.
It puts you in the same room. So instead of us having to talk through Zoom, we could be literally cheersing across the virtual table, which I think is just fantastic.
Absolutely.
Okay, so where do people find out more? How do we get you connected with possible and prospective investors who are just wanting to keep an eye on AMPD?
We recently updated our investor deck on the AMPD website. It talks all about what we're doing with Departure Lounge. It talks about the metaverse. It talks about all those sorts of things. There are a list of videos that you can also see. www.ampd.tech. AMPD Alpha Mike Papa Delta .tech. TECH.
Alpha Mike Papa Delta. I'll see you next time, buddy. Thank you for this. What a great day.
Thanks very much, Jody.